Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's AGI webinar, Harnessing Advanced Research Infrastructure for Earth and Environmental Data Management and Analysis, a Matlab perspective. My name is Gianni Della Torre, the Cloud Community Manager for AGI, and I'm delighted to introduce our program and the speaker. First, some housekeeping rules for today's call. Please make sure your microphone and video are deactivated. Write questions in the Q&A section. We will pick up them later on after the presentation. If you wish to speak, use the raise hand function. Presentation and recording will be available online after the webinar. Kindly fill out our survey after the webinar. The link is provided in the presentation. I'm just sharing also a registration, the AGI registration. So the AGI conference 2024 is going to be in Italy this year, and the registration are now open. And it will be between the 30th of September and the 4th of October. Now a brief introduction about the AGI webinar program. Our webinar aims to provide the latest insights and advancements in cloud computing, data management, and related technologies, supporting researchers and scientists in their innovating projects. On screen, you can see the upcoming webinars and training sections. The full program and additional materials can be found on the AGI website. Today's webinar will explore the complexity of Earth and environmental data requiring efficient management and interdisciplinary collaboration. We'll see how advanced research infrastructure enable data integration, interoperability, and powerful analysis and virtualization through cloud facility. First, you will have an introduction to Matlab, highlighting features relevant to the AGI users, setting the stage for enhancing our research and data management projects. Next, we'll dive into a case study on the NS data space, a cloud-based environment for climate data analysis within the European Open Science Cloud Compute Platform. You'll see how to access and work with climate datasets, including past recordings and future projection for the CMIP project using MATLAB Online and Jupyter Notebooks. This case study will demonstrate the ease of data import, analysis, and visualization, emphasizing the workspace capability without the need of local installation or downloads. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce you to our speaker, Kostas. He's the academic manager for geoscience and climate science at MathWorks, based in Cambridge, UK, with a background in environmental data engineering and a PhD in geophysics and seismology. Kostas has an impressive track record, including over 20 peer-reviewed research papers and previous roles as assistant professor at the Polish Academy of Sciences. As a visiting research fellow at the University of Southampton, he continues to support global academics and scientists in leveraging MATLAB for teaching and research. Please join me in welcoming Kostas as he shares his insight on harnessing advanced research infrastructure for Earth and environmental data management and analysis. Kostas, the floor is yours. Thank you and enjoy the webinar.
Thank you, Gianni. Okay, I guess everyone can see my screen. Okay. Gianni, is it okay? Yeah. So hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar of the AGI series. I'm Kostas Leptokaropoulos, as Gianni made a very good introduction. And today I'm going to show you a case study on how to access, analyze, and visualize open climate data using MATLAB within the ENES data space. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for registering and attending this event, and as well as the AGI team for organizing this event and inviting me to deliver this webinar. In particular, I would like to acknowledge the contribution of my colleague, Subho Chakrabarty, who planted the seeds for this project and also provided feedback and technical support, as well as Fabrizio Antonio from the CMCC, who offered his valuable support and assistance in integrating data, codes, documentation, and workflows within the ENES data space. We will have some time for discussions, approximately 15 minutes by the end of the presentation. And for your information, the slide deck will be distributed so you can have access to all the links and resources that are included inside. And there is also a link to the Jupyter Notebook and the codes that I'm going to present later during the demonstration. And without further ado, let's kick off with the agenda. Gianni mentioned about what is going to happen. I will make a brief recap. First, an introduction to Matlab, then an introduction to the European Network for Earth System Modeling, or the ENES data space. And the main part will be a case study where we'll see how to use Matlab within the ENES data space to import, analyze, and visualize global precipitation data coming from the Euro-Mediterranean Center on Climate Change, or CMCC. Well, let's kick off. Let's see how Matlab supports the science and open science workflows.
I can't see your screen, actually.
Okay. Can you see my screen now?
We see the slide with access.
Okay.
I can see the screen. I don't know about others.
Okay, so
access. Okay. Okay. Thank you for noticing. Okay, first we can use Matlab for accessing data, software, hardware, and web services. Then we can use Matlab for exploring and analyzing data and developing models and algorithms. And of course, we can use it for producing and sharing research outcomes such as data, methods, documentation, apps, and tools. Now, as a first example of sharing, we can package Matlab Analytics as an add-in to Excel, which allows others to preview and analyze data within a very familiar environment. As a second example, we can deploy a customized Matlab application to the desktop using the Matlab compiler, which allows others to use this application even without requiring them to have a Matlab license. Now, starting with the data, Matlab supports a plethora of common and scientific data formats, such as raster file formats, for instance, GeoTIFF and digital elevation models, vector file formats like S3 shapefiles and KML formats, a big variety of image file formats like JPEG, TIFF, PNG, and so on. And of course, geoscience-specific scientific data like NetCDF, HDF5, GRIP, and many, many others. Well, I remember about 15 years ago in the university, we had serious problems with my colleagues when working with Matlab and dealing with the so-called mixed data, you know, kind of numbers and strings mixed together, or numeric and alphanumeric data, or different time and date formats. What a mess back in the day. Of course, that hasn't been true for many years. And if we take a look into the not so recent past, actually, not so far past, we can see that there are data types for working with numbers, logical values, text, and containers with mixed data. For example, there were the tables were introduced in 2013 V version for working with heterogeneous tabular data, and simultaneously the categorical arrays for working with data within a fixed set of categories. Then there was a big family of data types introduced for working more efficiently with dates and times, which combine natural mathematics but with human readable display, including variable length months and leap years. Even more recently, 2016b, a new dedicated string type was introduced, which is much easier to work with than the cell arrays of strings. And one of my favorites, a family of data types for tall data was added, which allow us to work on much more data than it can fit in our computer memory. All of these that I just showed have been around for many years. However, most recently, there are new tools that have been developed for easier and more efficient data management and manipulation. Although you can still import data programmatically, the import data live task provides an interactive interface for exploring and reading a variety of formats such as text, any kind of ASCII text formats, media, spreadsheets, and of course, scientific formats, including NetCDF since 2023B, and also HDF5 since the latest release, 2024A. With this live task, you can select the sources, and based on this, you can have access all to the file structure, and you can preview the file structure, all of the attributes and the associated information and metadata. And based on that, you can select the data of interest. After clicking some optional parameters, the code is automatically generated, so you can use it in future tasks and ongoing projects. Such low-code workflows, meaning that these workflows require minimal programming from the user side, they help prioritize research over tool and code development, especially imagine when you have to do that from completely scratch. For example, you can use apps like the signal analyzer, which is now displayed on the screen, which is often an easier and faster way to explore data, converting data from time domain to frequency domain, filtering or viewing a scaleogram or a spectrogram. And again, as before, in any case, the code for everything is just a click away to automate and reproduce the process. Now, how all of these are relevant to climate research? Climate data is usually available via data agencies and web portals, such as the ones that are now displayed in the screen. In the landscape of modern research, the importance of such kind of data portals has surged dramatically, mirroring the exponential growth in the volume and complexity of the climate and other geospatial data. These portals provide centralized access to vast repositories of diverse climate datasets in a big variety of types and formats, as we previously discussed already. However, in addition to the data services, these portals oftentimes offer sophisticated tools for data management, visualization, analysis, and also scientific collaboration. And this is what we're going to do today. We will discover such features by exploring a case study carried out exclusively on the ENES data space. As our understanding of Earth climate system deepens, services like the ENES data space serve as vital tools for researchers, instructors, and stakeholders. What is the ENES data space? It is an open, cutting-edge, cloud-enabled data science environment for climate data analysis built on the top of the EOSC, or European Open Science Cloud, providing both storage and computational capabilities. Now, the service hosts data from the ESGF archive, or Earth System Grid Federation, to support researchers in climate model analysis. The ENES data space is made available through a user-friendly Jupyter Lab graphical user interface, which integrates into a single environment. First, climate datasets from well-known initiatives, like, for example, the CMIP6 or Phase 6 of the Coupled Modeled Intercomparison Project. And second, various computing tools, including the Matlab integration, which aims, among others, at big data processing, interactive analytics, and visualization. Having said all of that, let's move to the case study, to the demo, which will be presented as a live script and also as a Jupyter notebook. For those who are not familiar, a live script is a Matlab computational notebook, which incorporates text, code, equations, hyperlinks, and live tasks, as we will see soon in practice, all in one document. The workflow to be demonstrated includes importing, filtering, and manipulating data, and also creating maps and graphs, comparing results with each other, and also performing hypothesis testing to evaluate the statistical significance of different outcomes. With that said, let's move to the ENES data space. So here we are. Here we can see that this is the landing page, as I showed in the previous slide. There is a lot of information here that you can take a first look and see, for example, the data pools and the tools that are available, including the computational profiles that we will see right now, and also the Matlab integration. There are some notebooks that are available here. And this particular notebook that I'm going to show is also here in the right lower corner. If you click on that, you will see the notebook, and this is the place in GitHub, the repository in GitHub where all of these notebooks live, and you can find more information in the README file. Coming back to the ENES data space, it is very easy to create an account and sign up. You can just click here to register. Of course, I have done so, and in this case, I would like just to share a short video to show how exactly you can do that. It is super easy. Move it a little bit. So clicking on register, you can register very easily with your institutional account or with any other account that you have. There are several resources here like GitHub, LinkedIn, Orchid, Google, and so on. So you don't need to create an account. You can just log in with an existing account. And after that, you can just log in. I have done already so. I have logged in via LinkedIn. So I just click on this tab, and after inserting my credentials for my LinkedIn account, I'm transferred to the ENES data space environment, which is this Jupyter notebook that we will see right away. Okay, let's move on with the live demonstration. Here we are. And here we go. But first of all, I would like to just log out and take the process from the very beginning. I'm stopping now my server, and I'm starting it again. So there are several server options here for small data, medium data science, large data science, and so on. And there is also some Matlab environments, basic, advanced. And these are still testing, but right now we'll use just the basic environment. So I choose this server. It takes a few moments to start up the server. And here we go. This is the ENES Jupyter Lab environment. As we see, there are two directories, one with the work and one with the data. Let's take first a look at the data. There is an Excel file or a CSV, anyway, a spreadsheet, which contains a summary of all the information, all the data sets that are included in the ENES data space. It takes some time to run, to open, because it's a really huge amount of these data sets. And here you can find, for example, the institution which the data are associated to, like CMCC or the Alfred Wegener Institute. And there is a lot of information from experiment ID, variables that are included in the data set, and of course, the time range that these data sets correspond to. I will not spend more time here, just to show you, after closing this window, show you that in total there are more than 153,000 data sets. So this means that this is really a huge database. And let's go and take a look how this is structured. So let's go and in this directory, HTML6, you see that there are several other subdirectories. Here there are the data that are stored by institutes, by hosted institution. There are 27, if I remember correctly, different institutes that the data come from. And there's also different kind of resolution. Let's take a look at the higher resolution data. In this case, there are 6 institutions provided such kind of high resolution model intercomparison projects. TMCC has 2 different folders, one of high resolution and one from very high resolution. Let's have this one. And you see that there are data corresponding to past recordings and also future projection based on some models. Let's take a look, for example, at this one, at the past data. There is temperature and precipitation. We will work together with precipitation data. And here is the list of these data sets. We don't really need to download or do anything else in these data sets. Of course, we can do so if we like. We can download or copy the download link, but we can just copy this path and paste it in the code that I will show you right away. And so the code communicate seamlessly with the data stored, which is included in the same data space. Now let's move back to the main directory. And now let's go to the work directory. As you see here, there are two scripts. One is in Jupyter Notebook and one is the Matlab live script. You also may notice that here we have three options for notebooks. One is for Python, one is from the Matlab kernel, and one says Matlab Online. Let's check what happens in Matlab kernel. If we open it, we are working as a Jupyter Notebook, but in a Matlab kernel. So we can just type any kind of Matlab formats, any kind of Matlab commands we need. Let's have a small example. Let's say that to 10, that b equals to a squared minus 2, for example, and let's now plot a versus b. Like that. So if we run it, first of all, we need to enter our license, the license, so that we can work within the ENES environment. We can add an existing license, a network license manager for the license server address, or you can use your license that you have already. I will do so. I have many different accounts, but I will use my MathWorks one right now. So after the credentials are provided, you are just ready to start. It takes a couple of some moments to start the Matlab. And meanwhile, we can also launch Matlab Online, which, as I told you, is the online version of Matlab. Let's take a look here. Okay, this is probably not what I wanted to say, but to so. But anyway, this is this seems that the Matlab runs correctly, and you can also check this by running the version. And you see that the version is the 2024A, so it is updated, and we can work now with the latest update, the latest release of Matlab. Coming back to our project, we see that if we try to open the live script here, it is not supported in this Jupyter format. So to work on that, we need to open Matlab Online. We have already launched it, so it just take a couple of moments to transfer into the Matlab Online environment. You see that it is very similar with the desktop Matlab. There are some very minor details. And from here, I can launch the demo, analyzing global precipitation data. Here we are. Let's just minimize this here. And as you can see, this demo is in the form of a notebook. So it has the table of contents. You can click at any of these content of these sections here, and then it automatically transferred to the specific block within the script. There is a lot of text for information and description of the project, and also some hyperlinks that get you, for example, either documentation about how to import and use NetCDF files. There is also other resources like how to use the data. This is from the CMIP6 project, as I mentioned earlier, and this is an alternative site that you can take the data from. This is from DKRZ in Germany. And in this case, you can, for example, again, filter by institution, filter by nominal resolution, filter by time, by frequency, and so on. And then you can search. And after the search is run, you can take a look at the results, and there are many ways to download or import this data. However, we don't need to do anything of this right now because we have already the data in our workspace. And the only thing we really have to do is just to copy the URL, the address actually of these data sets from the path from within the ENES data space. And we do this twice, once for a past data set and ones for a future projection of the data set so that we can compare. Of course, you can add any kind of data set you would like to do here. You can just, change the name of the file and provide the correct year that you would like to have and compare. For this case, we have selected 1956 as past data and 2033 as projected data. And we can run this script like the section by section. We can run it, of course, all together by using this run button. We can run it section by section, or we can run at advance to the next section, so we can do it consequently. Now, let's run the first part, and we see that with these very easy commands, it's just ncdisp and the name of the path. We just get access to all the metadata of the file, which includes many things, information about the project, about the data, about the nominal resolution, the time increments, the grid, how to estimate the real time based on the time the time unit that all the calculations must take place. And there is also other relevant information, like, for example, the format, the data type. You see that it is double here, but it is single in the precipitation data. So I will add later, I will transform this data into double so that we're working only with double data format. We see the size of the data, and of course, the standard names and some comments, and also the units, which we will use later. And we will import all of this data from the file metadata. We don't need to write anything by ourselves, because all the data and the corresponding metadata is already included here in these files here. The same with the projection data. So now we have imported the data, and let's extract the features that we would like to extract. In this case, it's the longitude and latitude. We don't need actually to make it double here, but I did it first of all just to be sure, and second because in many cases these data are stored not in double but as a single. So just to be sure that everything is under control, I'm running this block, and the longitude and latitude have been calculated. And then before I import the precipitation data, I will still need to filter the data for the process to be more easy, because as we see here, the precipitation data is really huge. It is a table that contains millions of elements. I don't need right now all of these elements, so I just filter the data with some geographical criteria. I'm adding minimum longitude and latitude and maximum longitude and latitude in this case. And of course, starting and ending time, actually starting time and the duration from the starting point. So I will also run this part here. I'm extracting the indices for these data sets, for these points that I would like to see. And then I import the filtered data. You see, it's just, again, easy. I just use this NCRead from the imported files, and I add as restrictions these indexes here to constrain the temporal and spatial distribution of the data set that I would like to have. And the same with the precipitation data, which I have named here as variable past and variable projected. And the unit, which is here, but however, I would like to change this unit right now because it corresponds to a more comprehensive unit of kilograms per meter squared divided by meter squared and day instead of second. It's kind of more intuitive for comparison purposes. And in the next step, I calculate the times for these two data sets, for the past and also for the projected data sets, and of course also modified the format according to some human readable display. And then here we are at a place that we can select to plot and visualize the precipitation data. I can select any date of the data set that I have just imported. All of this information is included here. So for example, I can add this 21st of April. I can run this part. here it is also calculated the maximum and minimum value of the precipitation, so that I can use it later to have the minimum and maximum values for the color bar. And here we just visualize the past and projected data. Here we are. You see that the title is generated automatically, so you just need to use this nc read data read dat command to import the variable by the long name, and this long name is precipitation. And then we add it again from the vectors that we have created with time. We added also the date in the format that we have specified. Now we can do some other things. For example, I will show you how to use these kind of widgets here. This is super easy. You can change the color map, or you can just add this control panel. Let's select the drop-down menu. And in this drop-down menu, I can use some kind of parameters for the color map. If I don't remember what to use, what input arguments it takes, it doesn't matter, because I can use the help. And with the help, you can go to the document and there are some examples that you can go and see how to change and what are the valid input arguments. So you go directly to the documentation, there is link to the documentation, and you see what kind of color bars are available. So hot, for example, may be nice, or winter, or whatever. So let's add just one more control, winter. And in this case, now we can select item labels. Yeah, here we are. And turbo. So we can now try different kind of color maps and see which is more appropriate for the visualization purposes. After that, let's do some stats, some statistics. So first of all, we would like to compare the incremental and the cumulative precipitation for these two datasets, past and projection. And in doing so, we have this kind of map. We see that we have the incremental, the daily sum, and also the cumulative distribution. So we see in this case, for example, that the cumulative distribution for the past projection is higher values of precipitation in comparison with the past. And there are also much more extreme values in the future projections. This is kind of visible here. However, to have a more insight of this result, we can go here and select a different kind of plot, which is a box chart. And this box chart helps us to identify how these data are distributed. So we have the mean value, we have the quartiles and the whiskers, and also the outliers, which seems that it may seem that we may have the kind of similar mean values and median values. However, we see that the confidence intervals or the error bars are much higher in the projection values, and also the outliers are much more prominent in the projection compared to the past event. So this is good to see it visually. However, if we'd like to test it statistically, we can run some kind of tests. In this case, we selected to run 3 such kind of tests, which is a Wilcoxon rank sum test to test the hypothesis that the two distributions have equal medians. The two-side t-test, testing the distribution that the two distributions, the hypothesis that the two distributions have equal means, and the Kolmogorov-Smirnov test, the two-sample Kolmogorov-Smirnov test, which evaluates the hypothesis that the two distributions the two samples come from the same distribution. And we don't need, actually, we can skip all of the code here and we just take a look at the results. And if we go here, we see that all three tests reject the corresponding null hypothesis, which means that there is completely different distribution between the projected values and the past values, of course, within the area of interest and within the time period of interest. So you can play more with this script later on, and it is available, of course. You can experiment yourself and try to do different things inside there. I will just stop here with the demonstration, just to let you know that you can use, you can export these results in many different formats like PDF, Word, HTML, and since the last couple of versions, as a Markdown and as a Jupyter notebook. This is very easy, just this line, and it transforms the script, the MLX, into a Jupyter notebook. So let's go back to see how it looks like here. Let's open the Jupyter notebook. It is exactly the same as the live script, with the difference, again, table of contents, all of this stuff, with the sole difference that there is no interactivity in this case. So it means that we need to manually set some parameters. For example, this color bar, you need to manually select the values. There is no drop-down menus or tasks or live or control panels that you can insert data range or values or things like that. However, all the other is the same. It produces exactly the same results, and you can run it either all together or crunch by crunch. Let's just run a couple of segments, and you see that, again, it produces the same results. And coming back to the presentation to wrap up. So the ENES data space is a cloud-enabled environment for climate data storage and analysis, which provides both storage and computational capabilities. We just demonstrated an example of open precipitation data import, processing, and visualization. The entire process was performed in Matlab within the ENES data space environment, with no need to install software or download data on your local non-cloud devices. And before I end, I would like to provide you some resources that will be also available in the presentation. There are, if you go to like more and explore more in how to use Matlab, there are 22 free on-ramp self-paced online courses that you can have for basic Matlab and also for specialized topics such as machine learning and deep learning, math and optimization, signal and image processing, to name some. And of course, the brand new curve fitting on-ramp, which was launched 2 or 3 months ago. The duration is between 1 and 2 hours. However, you can always skip some sections and select lessons and examples of your interest. And of course, you can have the certificate upon the completion of the course. And some additional resources. If you would like to have some brief introduction about what we saw today, you can always access the EGU presentation, which is available in the EGU site. There is just a short presentation, a short slide deck with 4 short videos that you can use as tutorials to navigate into the ENES data space and the associated Matlab facilities. This is the landing page from the ENES data space portal, and also for the notebook that I just shared, that you can use it in GitHub. There is also a standalone version of this notebook. And by standalone in this context, I mean that you can just download it or clone it from GitHub or open it direct online from Matlab Exchange. It uses data from other online resources, so you can work with it outside the ENES data environment. The process is more or less similar. And I can show you, for example, in File Exchange. Here is a demo. You can either download it or open directly in Matlab Online and work like the example that I just showed to you, or you can link to GitHub. And again, you can find all of the documents and README and description. And also from GitHub, you can open it from Matlab Online. And finally, you can also run it as a reproducible capsule in CodeOcean. There are links inside the presentation. And last but not least, I also invite you, as Gianni did in the beginning, to the AGI conference from September 30th to October 4th in Lecce, Italy. We can discuss there in person. Of course, you can contact me at any time via email, LinkedIn, or ResearchGate. And some additional resources about open science, how to read and use data formats and data types, and how to best practices of writing your code, like a live script, like the Matlab integration of Jupyter and source control with GitHub and GitLab. And with that, I would like to thank you very, very much for your attention. And now I'm yours to take your questions.
Great, Kostas. Thank you for the presentation. It was very great. We have one raised hand from Eric, which wants to speak, I guess. I think you can already start speaking, not sure. A lot to talk. And then we have a couple of questions from Katya.
Yes, I see in the chat there is some traffic. So yes, please, let's move forward.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much for the presentation, Kostas. I was wondering whether a specific license is required to execute this Matlab code within the Jupyter Notebook, Jupyter Hub type of environment. As you showed on Open Matlab, I could see showing up there, and so I was wondering if besides having a desktop license, for example, you need another extra license for that.
Yes, you need actually to connect with your institutional Matlab license, so that it has, the authentication. And Shubho, do you like to add something? I see that
Sure.
you just unmuted.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Short answer is no. You don't need an extra license. So if you have a standard license or you have an academic license, then it should be compatible. Some home licenses are not online enabled, in case that answers your question.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it does.
Sure.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thank you, Eric. Any other questions, comments?
Can you see the questions in the Q&A section?
In the chat, in the Q&A, okay. Can you have the same color maps adopted by the IPCC assessment report 6 in Matlab? I'm not sure. There are many kind of options to have to download different. I mean, there are some default color maps in Matlab, but you can also create a customized color maps. There are some available in File Exchange that you can use it. I'm not sure about the specific that you are mentioned, but this is something that I can look for, and I can get back to you, Katya. Color maps.
Kostas, maybe
Yes.
you can share your email on the chat so Katya knows how to contact you.
Yes, of course. It is also in the presentation that you will have,
Okay.
but I can add it in the chat.
So I'll take a pass at the second question of Katya. I have some of my own functions in my computer desktop. How can I add path for my folders with them when using this ENES data space? I think there is a folder called work. Each person has a folder called work on the ENES data space. That is where you can have your scripts, right? And so you should copy your scripts and put them in that folder. Correct, Kostas? That's where you save your scripts. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
And then you can take the last one, the CMI P6 preprocessing.
Can we do some CMI pre-processing in the ENES, as usually we have with CDO, etc.? You can do anything you want, actually. But what kind of pre-processing you actually required to do? Because there are, as you see, there are many data sets included there. So some of them are already pre-processed or processed in a different way. However, you can do anything. You can, downscale or create a new grid. You can do all of this stuff with the workflow that I just showed, and this is quite easy. I mean, it depends on the operation you want to perform, but yes, absolutely, it is possible to do something like that.
Katya, feel free to unmute yourself and
Yes,
follow up on
please.
that question if you want.
Thank you, Katya.
Oh, thank you. That's all. I think I can follow up.
Yes, of course, anytime.
IPCC does have standard color maps, and depending
Okay.
on the variable, you have to use one or the other color map.
Okay, I will look for it. If there is not already something like that, we can work on that, you know, to produce this kind of template kind of color maps that are useful for, you know, and compatible with the IPCC standards.
And thank you for the work response, the folder, and also the CDOs. Is usually they are coming now in their native grid, and we need to regrid them into sometimes one standard grid for intermodal comparisons.
Right.
Okay. And we used to do with other things because Matlab used to hang on the memory and it was not easy to do with Matlab, but now
I see.
Because I work with the ocean, so it's like a 4D slat long, several depth levels plus time.
Yeah, so it's 4-dimensional actually data. Yes.
Yes.
The spatial and the temporal dimension. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for the great talk and the answers.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other questions or comments or thoughts to share?
Any other questions? If anyone else wants to pick up, please do. Otherwise, I think we can just wrap up and thanks both Shubo and Kostas for the great talk.
Thank you so much, and of course, please don't hesitate to contact me for any you know, details and follow-ups on this if you find it interesting. If you have any questions or if you would like that it will be useful for your research, please let me know and we will be in touch with you.
Kostas, sorry, there's just a question that just appeared now, literally now in the
yes, I
Q&A
see in the
box.
Q&A. Vasilios Christelis. Is the NS site recommended for Matlab online capabilities, or the other sites can also take advantage of these? Thank you, Vasilis, for attending and for your question. I mean, for Matlab online capabilities, yes, it is. You can use ENA site for the Matlab online capabilities. It is the same Matlab online, so you can use it as well in other websites that I showed you earlier in DKRZ.
So I have a comment there, Kostas. So Vasilios, it depends a little bit on your infrastructure. And if you have a Jupyter Hub, it's very, very simple. Gianni's done this for ETI. So there's a container with the Matlab installation and everything available. You pull it from GitHub. You don't need us, and you can get started. If you're the admin of your infrastructure, the admin of your infrastructure can get started. If you have some other sort of setup, then get in touch with us. The Matlab online that you saw, the Matlab desktop via browser, you can also have that without the Jupyter Hub by itself. You can have that with Jupyter. So there's multiple combinations possible. So if there is a particular infrastructure that you would like to see Matlab on, or you need Matlab on, then just get in touch with me or Kostas, and we can work on that with you. And I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Vasilis.
Great, and thanks, Gianni, as well for emceeing the webinar, and to all the other EGI folks for helping, as well as Fabrizio for working with us to get this up and running.
Great. Thanks to the audience. And yeah, we'll see you on the next webinar or in the EGI conference or at your event at Markworks. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Right, take care.